Once all four Wetchick brothers reunited outside the city walls, Elia was furious with Naif for blowing his trade deal and confirming to Rosh that they were incapable of handling the family finances. And Meb was just as mad. His leisure life in the city was over. How would he spend the family fortune on women and flashy clothing if there was no fortune? So in a fit of rage, they attacked Naif as soon as he returned. The rod fell, knocking Nafai down to the ground. He's broken my back, thought Nafai. I'll be paralyzed. I'll be like Isib, crippled in a chair for the rest of my life. It was as if the thought of Isib brought him into action, for as Elmac raised the rod again, Isib's chair swung across in front of him. The chair was turning as it went. It couldn't have been completely under control. And the rod caught Isib across one arm. He screamed in pain, and the chair lost control completely, spinning crazily and reeling back and forth. Its collision avoidance system kept it from banging into the stone walls of the canyon, but it did bump into Mebiku as he tried to run out of the way, knocking him down.
Stay out of the way, Isib.
You coward. You were nothing before Gebalyafix, and now you can beat a cripple and a 14-year-old boy? Very brave.
Again, Elmac turned away from Isib to face Nafai.
You've said too much this time, boy.
He wasn't shouting this time. It was a colder, deeper anger.
I'm never going to hear that voice again. Do you understand me?
That's right, Elia. You couldn't get Gebalyafix to kill Father for you, but at least you can kill me. Go ahead, prove what a man you are by killing your little brother.
Nafai had been hoping to shame Elmac into backing off, but he miscalculated. Instead, Elmac lost all self-control. As Isib spun by in front of him, Elmac seized an outflung arm and dragged Isib from the chair, throwing him to the ground like a broken toy.
No!
Screamed Nafai. He rushed for Isib to help him, but Mebiku was between them, and when Nafai got near enough, Mebiku shoved him into the ground. Nafai sprawled at Elmac's feet. Elmac had dropped his rod. As he reached for it, Mebiku ran to the pack frame and drew out another one.
Let's have done with him now, and if Isib can't keep his mouth shut, both of them.
Whether Elmac heard or not, Nafai couldn't tell. He only knew that the rod came whistling down, smashing into his shoulder. Elmac's aim still wasn't good, but this much was clear. He was striking high on Nafai's body. He was trying for the head. He meant Nafai to die. Suddenly, there was a blinding light in the canyon. Nafai lifted his head in time to see Elmac whirl around, trying to follow the source of the light. It was Isib's chair. Only it couldn't be. Isib's chair had a passive switching system. When it was not being told explicitly what to do, it settled down, leveled itself on its legs, and waited for instructions. It had done just that the moment Elmac dragged Isib to the ground.
What's happening?
What's happening?
Said a mechanical voice from the chair.
You must have broken it.
I am not the one who is broken. Faith and trust are broken. Brotherhood is broken. Honor and law and decency are broken. Compassion is broken, but I am not broken.
Make it stop, Isia.
Nafai noticed that Elmac said nothing. He was eyeing the chair steadily, the rod still in his hands. Then, with a grunt, Elmac rushed forward and swung at the chair with the rod. Lightning flashed, or so it seemed. Elmac screamed and fell back as the rod flew into the air. It was burning the whole length of it. Carefully, slowly, Mebiku slid his own rod back into the pack frame.
Why were you beating your younger brothers with a rod, Elmac? Why did you plan his death, Mebiku?
Who's doing this?
Can't you guess, fool?
Isib spoke feebly from where he lay on the rocks.
Who sent us on this errand in the first place?
Father.
The Oversoul.
Don't you understand yet that because your younger brother Nafai was willing to hear my voice, I have chosen him to lead you?
That silenced them both, but Nafai knew that in their hearts, their hatred of him had passed from hot anger to cold, hard resentment that would never die. The Oversoul had chosen Nafai to lead them. Nafai, who couldn't even get through negotiations with Gebalyafix without messing everything up. Oversoul, why are you doing this to me?
If you had not betrayed your father, if you had believed in him and obeyed him, I would not have had to choose Nafai ahead of you. Now go up into Basilica again, and I will deliver Gabalufex into your hands.
With that, the chair's light dimmed, and it settled slowly to the ground. They all waited, dumbly, for a few silent moments. Then Elmac turned to Isib and gently, carefully, lifted him back and put him into his chair.
I'm sorry, Isya. I was not in my right mind. I would never hurt you for the world.
Isib said nothing.
It was Nafai we were angry at.
Isib turned to him and, in a whisper, repeated Meb's own words back to him.
Let's have done with him now, and if Isib can't keep his mouth shut, both of them.
As the four divided brothers returned to the city, Naif tried to learn from Louette. He shut down his mind and let the Oversoul guide him, as she had said she did. They made it into the city without issue, with the help of the Oversoul, who had seemingly made the guards wander off. But suddenly, Naif felt strange. He soon realized the Oversoul wanted him alone to continue on. Naif made his way through the streets until he found a passed-out soldier on the ground in a puddle of vomit, reeking of alcohol and urine. This was the perfect disguise, as every one of Gabia's soldiers recently started wearing a new holographic cloak that they had discovered the plans for in the city library. This made them all look exactly alike. Every soldier had an identical face projected over their own body by it, which prevented any of them from suffering the consequences of their own actions, as no one could tell who was actually under the holographic masks. Naif realized this was the perfect disguise, and with difficulty removed the holographic cloak from the unconscious soldier. But, to Naif's surprise, under the mask was Gabia himself. The Oversoul commanded Naif to take Gabia's blade from his belt and remove Gabia's head. Naif balked at this idea and refused, but the Oversoul insisted that if he did not, thousands, if not millions, would die, and the blood would be on Naif's hands. For he had the opportunity to stop it and did nothing. So, with a lot of convincing from the Oversoul, Naif did the dirty task and beheaded the unconscious Gabia. Naif then donned his clothes and holographic mask. He went back to Gabia's house, and with the help of the Oversoul's telepathy, tricked Gabia's men into thinking it was a drunk Gabia under the hologram. He took command of Gabia's treasurer and ordered him to retrieve the index from the vault. The treasurer led him down to the vaults and pulled out a strange, small golden sphere. Naif now had the index, but he was in the heart of Gabia's forces, so he made the treasurer walk with him, since the treasurer wore no holographic cloak, to ease the way for his passage. But by the time the two were free of the men and Gabia's compound, Naif was too scared to let the treasurer go. He had been around Naif too long. He may have started to pick up on the fact that it was not Gabia beneath the cloak. So he kept the treasurer with him, so he could not go back and warn the soldiers. He led him back to where his three brothers waited, and together they detained the treasurer. Now that they had obtained the index, they traveled back to their camp outside the city, where their camels waited to take them back to Father. Here, they gave the treasurer the option of dying or swearing allegiance to the brothers and their family. Of course he swore his allegiance, but Meb and Elia did not trust him. Of course he would say yes to save his own life. So Naif asked the Oversoul for guidance, and it told him to trust the man. Elia took the index from the treasurer, just a small golden sphere, but when he handed it to Naif, it suddenly came to life, showing a holographic arrow floating above itself. Naif handed it back to Elia, as Elia knew the paths outside the city the best, so he should lead. But the moment it was handed back to Elia, it again went dark. Naif could tell that Elia hated him all the more for the fact the Oversoul had clearly chosen him, the younger brother. They traveled and brought the index back to Father and their camp in the desert. Here, Isib, Father, and Naif all touched the index at once, and the Oversoul spoke to them.
"Awake after all this time,"
said the index. It was a whisper. Nafai wasn't altogether sure whether he was hearing it with his ears or whether his mind was transforming the ambient noises, the desert breeze, their own breathing, into a voice.
You came to us at great cost.
I waited a long time to have this voice again.
It wasn't the index speaking. Nafai knew that now. This is the voice of the Oversoul.
Yes.
If this contains your voice, why is it called an index?
The answer came only after a long hesitation.
This is the index to me.
The index of the Oversoul. An index was a tool created to make it easier for people to find their way through the labyrinthine memories of a complex computer. The Oversoul was the greatest of all computers, and this was the tool that would let Nafai and Isib and Father begin at last to understand it.
Now that we have the index, can you explain to us what you are?
Again, the pause, and then the whispering.
I am the memory of Earth. I was never meant to last so long. I am wakening, and must return to the one who is wiser than I, who will tell me what to do to save this unharmonious world called harmony. I have chosen your family to carry me back to the Keeper of Earth.
That is where you're leading us?
The world that was buried in ice and hidden in smoke is surely alive and awake now. The Keeper who drove humankind from the planet they destroyed will surely not turn his face away from you now. Follow me, children of Earth, and I will take you back to your ancient home.
Nafai looked from Father to Isib and back again.
Do you realize what this means?
A long journey.
Long. So long that it takes light 100 years to reach us.
What are you talking about? You'd think the Oversoul had promised to take us to another planet.
Isib's words hung in the air like music out of tune. Nafai sat there stunned. Of course, Oversoul had promised to take them to another planet. Those were its plain words. Except this wasn't what Isib had heard, or Father. Obviously, then, the index did not make literal sounds, and they were in fact hearing with their minds, not their ears.
What did you think the Oversoul said?
That he was going to lead us to a beautiful land, a good place where crops would grow and orchards thrive, a place where our children would be good and free, without the evils of Basilica.
But where? Where did it say that this beautiful land would be?
Nafai, you must learn to be more patient and trusting. The Oversoul will lead us one step at a time, and then, one day, one of those steps will be the last one in our journey, and we'll be home.
It won't be a city, but it will be a place where I can use my floats again.
Nafai was deeply disappointed. He knew what he had heard, but he also knew that Father and Isib had not heard it. Why not? Either it meant that they simply could not comprehend the voice of the Oversoul as clearly as he could, or it meant that the Oversoul had given them a different message. Either way, he couldn't force his own understanding on them.
What did you hear? Was there more?
Nothing important for now. What really matters is knowing that we're not going to wait around for Basilica to take us back. We're not exiles anymore. We're expatriates, emigrants. Basilica is not our city anymore.
Father sighed.
And to think I was just about to retire and turn the business over to Elia. I didn't want to journey anymore. I'm about to take the longest journey of my life, I fear.
Nafai reached out and took the index between his hands and drew it close. It trembled in his grasp.
As for you, my strange little index, I hope you turn out to be worth all the trouble that was taken to get you. The price that was paid.
Such a fortune. I never knew we were so rich until the day we weren't.
We are richer than ever now. We have a whole land promised to us, with no city or clan or enemy to take it away. And the index to the Oversoul is here to lead the way.
Nafai hardly heard them. He was thinking of the blood that he had shed, of how it stained his clothing and his skin. I didn't want to do it, he thought, and it was simple justice to take the life of a murderer. When Elmac thought he might have killed a man from far off with a pulse, he bragged about it. But I killed him close, under my own hand as he lay drunken and helpless on the street. I did it, not in fear for my own life, and not to protect a caravan, but in cold blood, without anger, because the Oversoul had told me that it was right, and because I believed in my own heart that it was necessary. But I also hated him. Will I ever be sure that I didn't do it because of that hatred, that longing for vengeance? I fear that I will always suspect that I am an assassin in my heart. I can live with that, though. I can sleep tonight. With time, I'm sure that the pain of it will even fade. It's the price of the thing that I agreed to be, a servant of the Oversoul. I'm not my own man anymore. I'm a man the Oversoul has chosen to make of me. I hope I like, at least, a small part of what I've become, when at last the Oversoul is through with me. He slept that night and dreamed, not of murder, not of Gabalyafix's head, nor of the blood on his own clothes. Instead, he dreamed of drifting on a sea whose currents ran hot and cold, as fog drifted endlessly in front of his face. And then, out of this lost and mysterious and peaceful place, hands searched across his face, his shoulders, and then took hold of his arm and pulled him close. I'm not the first one here, he realized as he woke from the dream. I'm not alone in this place, this kingdom of the Oversoul. Others have been here before me, and are with me now, and will be with me through all that is to come. And that's the end of the first book in the saga, The Memory of Earth. My next video will be the second of the 3 books, The Call of Earth. If you can't tell, they were never meant to be standalone books as many other sequels are, so I will be doing all 3 books in a row. So, subscribe for that if you want to hear the rest of the story. Hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you staying this long, and since you did, hopefully that means you like my channel. So I'd really appreciate it if you would like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe, so I can see you back here for the next one. Take care.